Sunday morning, we come up the ramp, there's our man sitting there, waiting to give you a handshake and memorize your name. Most of the time it's taken memorizing names, but shakes hands. So last October, November, I came in, happy, gay, and Pastor said, "Lou, can I speak to you?" Pastor, speak to me. He said, "Next April 20th, I'm going to have a day with God, which I've run before, and I want you to give your testimonial." So I know that this is October. I know he's going to have that deal in April. I said, time out. This man is 96 years old and he's plotting 7 months down the line. I didn't really say this, but I thought he either has the greatest faith in the world or he's stupid. I didn't say that. But when I wrote this piece that you hear now, on the bottom line I put, I'm 89 years old, and I'm sweating out tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Now that, it was real funny when I said it to myself, and now I think back out. What I was sweating out was too very, very near death. And so, in other words, none of us know when our time is coming. You have no promises, and it might be 96, or it might be tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, and I can do that. So, Pastor gave us the word, so that was all right. Testimony didn't make a stroke. So I was interested in getting away from there and getting my red pill before somebody else stole it. I'd have to sit on the hard bench. So I said, Pastor, anything, I'll be there. And that was the last time I heard of it or thought about it. The year came, turned, it got into January, and all of a sudden I started reading the bulletins were saying the ex-mayor and football coach will be giving a testimonial of what? Now I'm starting to read testimonial. I went and looked it up in the dictionary to think that I could find a way to evade it. I don't want to hurt this guy. He used to make a living doing this. So I said, let me look at it again. I said, I don't know how long I've been in church. I may be the oldest male member. We have a couple of other. And so from 1940 right through now, like I confirmed here, I've been here all the time. I've never had one of these testimonials. I don't know what it's all about, but it's a long time. So after reading in the, what do I call our Sunday? Is it the Messenger or the Bulletin? I'm trying to find it. The Bulletin. So I'm reading in the Bulletin now more frequently that Lou Howard's going to give a testimonial, and I'm saying, what is a testimonial? Now I'm in February, and I'm truthful. I'm not sleeping nice. I'm laying there doing testimonials. Not to anybody, and not even to me. So I said, that's it. So the next day, it was Friday, I called Dr. I was going to call him Dr. Anglin. I used to call him Pastor A. And I called him and I told him I had a problem. I want to talk to him about it. Could he fit me in sometime? He said, how's this afternoon about 3 o'clock? I said, man, you got it. I'll be there. And I was. So I walked in and I said, your job here is to make your parishioners happy. I'm not happy. And so I told him my whole problem here, and he was not too upset. He said, Lou, my pastor, Lou, you've been the mayor, you've been the football coach, you've been a pilot, and being a pilot, actually, I took this man flying all over him one year, and he almost flew the plane better than me. That was a great pilot. Anyhow, we talked for 45 minutes, basically. And he gave me all the avenues I should take and do it from this, does this. I said, Pastor, none of them work. I ain't doing it. So I got up after 45 minutes and gave Pastor the famous Lou Howard hug. And departed, saying all the time, I'm not doing it. And this guy is yelling, and rightfully so, give it a few days and pray on it. That's Friday. Shut the screen. Now, Saturday, I'm ending up on the flood. There are all kind of faces in here when I say that. And in the den, where I have a beautiful bookshelf, the water was up to about here. So everything from here down was kaput, and everything over it was totally messed up. So I figured this is about the time I'd better be cleaning this thing out. And I started moving them, and all of a sudden I leaned over a brown box, I don't know how long it had been there, dusty, weathered, and I read the back of it and it said, Guideposts Magazine, Carmel, New York. Now I knew something about Carmel Magazine, so I turned it further around and checked the date. And it was dated 1957. That was the postmark, which was 56 years ago. That's how long the housekeeper in my den gets around to things. It was 56 years is a nice round number. So I took the box and picked it up. There was so I thought I would open it. And I opened it, and there were a bunch of these, I call them tear sheets. And I said, what is this? So I looked at it, and wow, look at this. Here's a young, I say handsome, football coach being carried off the field by his players. And then I turned here, and here I have a group of high school football players in a ring circling. They're saying a prayer. So I looked back again, and I think I said, holy crap! This is me! And the title was, How Important is a Football Game? So then all of a sudden, like a light went on. And I thought of the praying. I've been praying so hard. This was the answer to my prayers, I believed. Because I believe it was prayer-driven or God-driven, because I had prayer on it, and I thought I knew what I might be able to do with that. Now, if I just step back a section and tell you about what Guideposts is and why they were there, looking under a little Lou Howard, I might also make one quick statement. My first year was 1953, so this is taking place when I've only been a coach for 5 years. I came to Amityville with a lot of thought patterns that I wanted to work. All of them different from anybody else that coached on Long Island or places in the country. In those days, and I hope some of you women will be football fans, in those days, you remember this, everybody used the T formation, except Lou Howard. I used my formation that I made up. And the first year, we won the Suffolk County Championship. First year coach, championship. The next year, 53, 54, and 55, we won. And what we got then was a thing called the Rutgers Trophy. It had never been won. If you win, you get it to keep, to put in your that had never happened. So we won the Rutgers Emblem Trophy, and it is in the Amityville school to this day. And then the season that this paper is going to be about, and by the way, what I'm saying here today and what you read there are going to be this. Who is it? O. Henry, who did the short stories with the surprise ending. Well, this is a Lou Howard short story, because a lot of what's happening here won't be reflected in there. and you can have those to read it if you want. So with all this, I was controversial, very controversial, and a lot of people didn't like me. The football parents loved me. The football team loved me. I loved me. Pretty good. And, no, it was my train of thought. So anyhow, did I get the Dr. Norman Vincent Peale wrote the best-selling book, The Power of Positive Thinking. And it wasn't on the list for weeks, months. It was on for years. And people who had neuroses, and even today, this book, if you feel down a little bit, this book is unbelievable. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale was also the minister at the Marble Memorial College.
Marble Collegiate.
Yeah, Collegiate for 53 years. And on Sundays you can't walk to church and get into one of his sermons. People travel from all over the world, or did, to book in and have it so they could come and hear him speak. He was great. In those days it was Billy Graham and Peale. So anyhow, he had contacted me based on the prayer, but also based on a lot of negative publicity that made it like something that he'd want to write about. I don't know how much correspondence I have with him, but I do know I have an autographed picture on the wall which proves that I did see him one time. So he contacted, he was trying to ask what the best time and place would be. And I decided that we should eat at the Mario Diner and Grill. Now, how many remember where the Mario Diner and Grill was in Amityville? It's incredible. That's incredible. We're talking 50 years ago. I think the name of the place now is Bellissimo's. Is that place? It sat right there, and it was the biggest diner from Amityville on the Merrick Road to Freeport, and the biggest diner to Babel. So we figured the time and place out, and he sent a writer out by the name of Van Warren, and I looked at him and I figured this guy was about my age, about 34 or 35, a real nice guy. And he ended up, as I read his death, his obituary, a big, big name in religious writing all over the country. So we went inside and talked for about 2 hours. All I know, he took, I'll say the word, copious notes. He just never stopped. And we left, we shook hands, said goodbye, and I never saw him again, ever. And, but after a few months, this Guidepost magazine came out, and it was, I didn't get a copy, but I got a letter from Oklahoma. So last time I was in Oklahoma, I was a cadet at a place called El Reno Primary School. So I figured, did it have anything with that? And I opened it up, and this guy said, "Hey Louis, I read your article, and congratulations." And Pastor, this guy was, after a mission, he would come with his ukulele and sit on the foot locker and play, you know, "You Are My Sunshine" and all those great hits. And everybody in the barracks would come around and sing. So I really remember him, and he was a good gunner. What I want to do, and what I had planned, was that I would take this and try to go through it. It would take too much time. What I want to do, by closing, is take the two aspects. I had the thing that I wanted to have with my team is what's called a big family relationship. That happened, you've heard the name Uncle Lou here and there. That came out of this big relationship. And there's a great story in there, but I just don't have to kind of tell you how we broke record after record based on what we did family-wise. But what I will talk to you is about how I could take young men who were not really firmly Christian or anything else, I'd get them into prayer. So this, as I told you, was 1957, and the season was starting, and as you'll see, they were in great trouble. It was a Friday, on a Friday, the first game of the season, of my second season, was going to be played next week, or that Friday. And so, before that week had been the worst week in coaching. The kids, it was horrible, and they knew it was horrible. So, in true Lou Howard fashion, I kicked them off the football field and told them how they'd never be Armyville players and all those lies that you tell kids to get them in the locker room. And I had the team, this now is Thursday, Friday, come up, take a knee, and I told them I wanted to talk to them. And I had my assistant coaches run around, because in those days, 50 years ago, people used to come with their pipes, and they'd smoke them and cigarettes, and they would be like more coaches, which you didn't need. So I had the assistant coaches sweep them. I don't want them here. So then I said, you remember what the Tuesday practice was like? And to a man, they all nodded. So I said, after you left the field, I went into those bleachers over there and I prayed. And I prayed for you, that you do the best you can this year, that you don't get hurt, because I always had my kids pray that they got hurt or the others. And any of you that watch football and you see the kind of things you see on there, you don't want to be the coach. By the way, none of those coaches in the pro are running out there, but you don't want to be that person, because you may be looking at a horrible accident. So I prayed for them. But I also prayed for myself. You know, Father, I'm the culprit.
Thank you. I have one.
Your work should be with me, and I'm not cooperating. I'm doing something wrong. So that was it. I didn't know what was going to happen. Wednesday we had to practice. It was unbelievable, and I mentioned it to him. It was like you were a college team with the whistles blew. They were the next. You never saw anything like it. They were unbelievable. So I said, with that in mind, and with the thoughts of prayer, I want to try something. And the one thing I don't want to do is shove religion down anyone's throat. I wouldn't want to shove down mine. I want to be a Lutheran. But anyway, so I said, tomorrow before the game, I'd like you to, if you want, to we'll make a circle and we'll say the Lord's Prayer. Again, I said, just so you play your best game and on and on. I said, if that doesn't meet with what you like, you can go get a chin strap or change your helmet. You don't have to be there, and no one's going to censor you. That one kid missed that. Every kid in the squad was there. And for my whole coaching career, I never had, we did that because the next year they said, can we have the prayer? Which to me was, that's a little bit of a testimonial. Thank you, you're helping me win him back. So I said, what I'd like to do is have you just come up on the field and we'll say prayer. Now, that is not quite as simple as I thought it was going to be, because I had something that was troubling me. My decision had to be made about where you would have that prayer. On the football field or in the locker room. And I knew what I wanted. But I didn't tell them. And what I wanted was to be able to have, I'll dedicate this to men, that when you were an athlete, a freshman or a sophomore, you always looked up to somebody on the varsity. There was somebody up there that was a god to you. It was to me. And I played football right across the street here, and when my coach, when I was a little kid, I used to, when he gave his talks, that we had bleachers. And I sneak around under the bleachers so I could hear the coach talk, you know. This stuff wasn't as good as mine, but he had a tendency to wouldn't laugh. So anyhow, I wanted to, I had seen at a later date a circle with all these all-night football players around, and a bunch of little kids with their knickers on here. It was the most beautiful sight. The fact of that is the coach basically once in a while would say to the staff, why don't you let Tommy, you know, I'm here, he's out there. A couple of those dropped around were pretty good. So we had that thing, and we started football, and it went for the rest of the time. Now I had one more facet to this before I shut it down, and I had gotten now to go to church, and now my next move would have to be to gather as Christians. And so I told you I didn't want any men quarterbacks running my team, but I did want some moms. I wanted moms. And that was in the first week of the season, even in my first season. And I told them, you know, I have 7 children. And when the baby cries and so forth, I put my head over the blanket. I said, but you don't do that. As a mother, you bear that child, you're interested in the child. And what I tried to impress upon them was this, that child was important to them, but it was important to me. And it was one thing that I wasn't even going to mention here, but now it just falls in. My kids knew how much I loved them. You know why they know that? You know how they know that? They know it because I told it to them consistently. They knew that. When they didn't have any place to go, when a guy was in jail, I said, what precinct are you in now? He knew where to call. And the thing is that, you know, it's no fun to call, tell a person you love them, when they can't hear you. It's no good deal to give them roses when they can't smell them. Do it now. If you have to tell somebody that you love them, tell them. And it's a good feeling. It really is. I'm ad-libbing now. Let me do one more thing. The teams I had when I had, you know that my teams were interracial, black and white. In fact, I had a center once. I made him a interpreter. Had the white kids over here, the black kids on this side of the line, and he had to keep them from fighting each other. But I knew the kids who had a mother and father, the black families, well, it was not a problem. They really didn't get into trouble. But when you had somebody that had a different uncle coming to the house every week, that guy had a problem. And sometime during the season, I'd walk in, hey Nathan, look there, what's happening with you? You look like you're doing some pretty good here, give him all that stuff. I said, I want you to remember something. Your Uncle Lou loves you, and you know, I'm not, well, I know it, I know you love me. And they believed it. And the magic of believing is what wins life's battles, it was football battles. So at any rate, I formed the Moms Club, and they would, at that meeting, sit down and plan the 7 dinners that they were going to have, the roast beef and whatever. And of course the cheerleaders got in. The biggest mistake I ever made for the first dinner, I had the girl JV cheerleaders, and I think I'm going to get pulled by a hook.
One minute.
1 minute?
Yeah.
Okay, give me 2 minutes.
I'll give up a minute of my lunch.
It's lunchtime.
Let me finish that. I do try in my daily walks to follow the covenants that are set forth by Jesus. And my favorite passage verse does that for me. is Matthew 5:16. So let your light shine, that others may see your good works and glorify your God who is heaven. So to cut the thing short, I want to say this. If I can get this. Dare to be a Daniel, dare to stand alone. Dare to have a purpose firm, and dare to make it known. I hope that in my coaching, in my mayorships and all the rest, I've had this purpose firm, and I hope in some small way I've made it known to you tonight. Thank you, and God love you. And you are wonderful warriors. Please clap your hands.
Thank you very much for your fine testimony, not testimonial. Look it up in the dictionary.
No hard feelings. You are.
Boy. First time I got a Howard hug.
Maybe the last.
All right, we'll sing one hymn.